Hello and welcome to the 17th Scouching Report for the 2020 NHL Draft, and boy am I excited about this one. Today we're going to be looking at the 6th ranked skater in North America according to NHL Central Scouting, Mr. Marco Rossi of the Ottawa 67s. Where do I really start with Marco Rossi? He came over to the OHL last season to play with the Ottawa 67s. He came back this season as one of the older draft-eligible players this year and played at a over 140-point pace in the CHL on what to many people was the best Canadian Hockey League team this season. But he's 5'9" and a center, which to me means undervalued going into this year's draft. So if you've never seen the Scouching Report before, the way that we break down a player is we look at 5 separate categories: think, move, get, pass, and shoot. Within each one of these categories, we give the player a number and a letter grade, where the number from 1 through 4, with 1 being highest, indicates the overall tier of talent that I saw in the player across the 7 games that I tracked, and the letter indicates the overall consistency within that tier that I saw over those 7 games. So to get things started, we look at the think category. And in all honesty, this is an excellent start to Marco Rossi's game. He's a guy who doesn't often show a lot of flash, but when he needs to, he can. In my opinion, at both ends of the ice, he is one of the smarter players, especially at the center position, that you can find in this entire draft. He anticipates play down the middle of the ice extremely well. He supports teammates at both ends of the ice to facilitate both defense and offense. It really struck me that Marco Rossi is one of these players who's just extremely adaptable as the game changes around him. If he needs to use some speed or his hands to get around a defender, he can absolutely pull the tools that he needs out of his toolbox to get the job done. He doesn't need to be the fanciest player on the ice that hits all of the highlight reels all of the time. He's absolutely not a selfish player, and he's perfectly willing to dish pucks to his line mates while moving pucks up the ice, or just let line mates go up the ice without calling for the puck the whole way up. He evades pressure extremely effectively most of the time, and he can get himself out of high pressure situations pretty well, again by using that toolbox that he knows what to pull out of at the right time. And his anticipation in the offensive zone especially really led me to believe that he's one of these players who also kind of makes his own luck. He doesn't jump into a physical altercation right away to try to just grind pucks away, and on defensive rushes, he's not the most aggressive back checker in the whole world that I've seen this year so far, but he does position himself down the middle of the ice very well and can cover the front of the net perfectly fine. He's strong enough and sneaky enough to cover opposing team centers in front of the net, and with his size and speed, he's able to choke out defensive cycles really sneakily in ways that you wouldn't expect such a center. However, he's not perfect. There were times where I saw Marco Rossi be a little bit laid back defensively. He could be caught tracking the puck and the flow of play in defensive cycles a little bit too much while opposing forecheckers circled around him into open space. And there were times where he certainly made real hasty decisions that hung their teammates out to dry, giving passes to guys on breakouts before they're ready, missing targets on some of his passing, and there were just a few instances where some refinements and better positional awareness might really help him be an even better defensive player than he already was. And he has had some disciplinary issues this season, and that really can't be ignored. So some questionable decision making here, a little bit of lack of positional awareness here and there, and some general unpleasantries about how Marco Rossi approaches the game in general really indicates to me that while he is an extremely strong competitor and overall an extremely smart player most of the time, there is still some refinement that I think he will need to make in the next couple of years as he matures into a professional player. So in the think category, I'm giving Marco Rossi a 1B. He's not perfect, but he is an extremely well-refined, intelligent, two-way center who does nothing but move pucks up the ice and score points. He's just really good at it, and there's a reason for it. He's not the flashiest guy, but he has a very deep toolbox that he can pull out of at any given moment on the ice. So if he can sort out that lack of discipline and maybe a lack of positional awareness from time to time, and the hasty decision making that he did show rarely, he could become a very valuable two-way center on any NHL team with tremendous offensive upside. He plays with a lot of determination, he anticipates and positions himself in play very well, and he adapts very well under pressure, and he knows what needs to be done to get that puck in the net. And I think that that is extremely valuable for any team with any center on any line, and I think that there's a lot to love about Marco Rossi's game here. Next we go to the move category, and I'm going to continue with the positives on Marco Rossi here. He's not the most spectacular skater that I've seen in this whole draft, but again, he has this air of getting the job done. With his brain, his hands, and his feet, he's able to gain offensive transitions extremely effectively, gaining entry into the neutral zone and into the offensive zone and maintaining control 82% of the time is insanely good. In fact, of anyone profiled in this year's video series, that is the best measure at any position. And he has now surpassed Marat Khusnutinov in controlled offensive zone transitions per 60 minutes with 53.9 relative to Khusnutinov's 53.3. At his core, he's just a guy who knows how to get the puck up the ice efficiently. Whether it's on his own stick or passing it to a teammate, it is something that he does constantly, every single game that I saw him play. He's excellent on his edges, navigating around the ice and maintaining possession of the puck. His hands are great. And one thing that really stuck out to me is his ability to create space in no time at all between himself and defenders. And when push came to shove in high danger areas, he just seemed to know how to use his hands and his feet to protect that puck and just put it in position to beat a goaltender. Rossi seems to be the type of player who knows how to navigate the puck into a space where the goaltender isn't and get the easy tap-in goal, whether it's his own goal or a partner's goal on his forward line. But again, he's not a perfect player in this category. There was a bit of a lack of focus from time to time away from the puck, letting play happen around him a little bit too much, and there were certainly times where he could hold onto a puck for far too long, although he could maintain possession of it well enough. He isn't the biggest player, and while he is pretty strong on his feet for someone with his frame, he was knocked off pucks after holding onto them for a little bit too long, and in the NHL, that's only going to get harder and harder, so I'm hopeful that over time he can learn how to spot play a little bit quicker and not hold onto the puck so long as often as he did. This wasn't a major trend with him, but it was something that I think might need to be looked at moving forward. And at his fastest, I measured Marco Rossi blue line to blue line in 1.61 seconds. And for guys at the top end of this draft, that ties Tim Stützle. But he didn't really showcase his top end gear a whole lot. He really preferred to play the game at his own pace and just do what needed to be done to get the job done that he was trying to do. So in the move category, I'm giving Rossi a 1C. Rossi really strikes me as a player that almost all of the time he's just very in control of his body and his skill. He's not the flashiest skater in the world because he doesn't need to be. If he does need to be, he can pull that out of his toolbox. He works hard for everything he gets on the ice, and he seems to play with purpose no matter what he's doing on the ice. If he's moving pucks up the ice with control, he can do it on his own stick, but also pass it to a line mate. If he's in the offensive zone, he knows how to find open space with the puck, he knows how to find teammates in dangerous areas with the puck, and if he's carrying the puck into dangerous areas himself, he knows how to navigate it and navigate defenders to find empty space and put it past a goaltender for an easy one. And the only thing I can really critique him on is a general level of consistency in terms of his physical intensity around the ice, and especially in the defensive zone, there was some times where he could be a little bit too passive on his feet, and a little bit more explosiveness in his first couple of steps to choke out defensive cycles might help him a little bit better in his own end. He's already a very well-refined positional center in the defensive end right now, but if he had it in his toolbox to be a little bit more explosive defensively, he might be even better in that area. The third category we look at is the get category. Now, you might see a 5'9" center and think, probably not the best player away from the puck. But with Marco Rossi, again, he really relies on his intelligence and general smarts around the ice to close gaps and go after forecheckers in any area of the ice and try to stymie transitions. Positionally, he's very sound away from the puck, especially down the middle of the ice, and he's constantly tracking the puck looking for opportunities to create turnovers with his stick. He's not the most physically imposing guy on the ice and not the hardest hitter or the hardest defensive checker, but what you really are trying to do away from the puck is cause a situation where the opponent does not have it anymore. Whether you do that with your body or your stick, whether you're a winger or a center, it doesn't really matter to me, and Marco Rossi did a very, very good job in the defensive end turning pucks over and turning them back up the ice with control. And with that being said, he was a player that was willing to engage physically. He just strikes me as a player who knows how to use his brain, his stick, his body, and his feet to really intelligently track and manage play defensively when he's away from the puck. On the downside, Rossi's controlled defensive transition rate was 48%, which is, I'd say, mediocre, but at the same time, Marco Rossi faced just 29 total defensive transitions per 60 minutes. And to me, part of that factors into the Ottawa 67s just being a team that always had the puck all of the time, especially with Marco Rossi on the ice. But there were times where I think he did take a little bit too much off the gas pedal and let guys just blow right by him or have too much space, especially in the neutral zone. He's not a perfect hockey player away from the puck, but he certainly is better than I expected. So in the get category, you give Marco Rossi another 1B. He's really, really underrated as a two-way player away from the puck. With his stick, his hands, and his feet, he has all the tools to be a very, very good two-way player. This all just comes back to his focus level, because it felt like once in a while he might not be willing to engage physically or move his feet as much as he usually does, but with young players that can be somewhat common. When he has his head in the game though, he can be a very, very good two-way player. So while from time to time there were weak attempts to break up play in the neutral zone and defensive zone, and there was a bit of a lack of focus positionally from time to time, he uses every part of his body very effectively and very intelligently to close out play and grind things down along the boards if he needs to, but especially when he's in open ice anticipating play away from the puck, there's a really, really interesting two-way player moving forward. Next we go to the pass category, and this is where things get really fun with Marco Rossi. On the surface, Marco Rossi completing 79% of his passes is extremely notable. It's not the highest number I've tracked this year, but when you combine it with 76 5-on-5 pass attempts per 60 minutes and 60.5 completed passes per 60 minutes at 5-on-5, those three numbers put together make him the best passer I have tracked so far in this year's draft. Now, when you look at moving pucks into dangerous areas, he only had 9.15 dangerous pass attempts per 60 minutes, which is about average, but there was one game where Marco Rossi had 7 of those pass attempts. But his passing game seems much more based around moving pucks up the ice with control and making those dangerous passes count. It really felt like he was one of those rare cases of players on my tracking list who makes those dangerous pass attempts with a purpose and a recipient who actually receives that puck and receives it cleanly. So while he might not be a player who's dishing the puck to the front of the net all night, every night, he makes those chances count. And I think that's part of the reason why he has so many points this year in the OHL. Rossi just knows how to hit his target and when. He hits them with hard, crisp, and clean passes. And even when you're dealing with those dangerous pass attempts that can be so hard to complete, Rossi knows how to find men that can finish those passes. And going back to the move category a little bit, yeah, he can be a little bit too patient, but I think that patience for him will be a virtue at the end of the day. He's more than willing and perfectly able to protect that puck, swing wide, move around the offensive zone looking for options, and when he sees an option he likes, he will take advantage of it and get the puck to that player. 4 out of every 5 pass attempts he took hit their target, and he was making a lot of pass attempts in a given game. So in the pass category, I'm giving Marco Rossi another 1B. It's really hard to find a flaw here for him. He is one of the busiest passers that I've tracked this year, and he is one of the best I've tracked in terms of completing those passes. The only knock I can really have on him is that sometimes he can be too patient to the point where he loses control of the puck before making a pass, and I would like to see him be even more dangerous with his passing. Part of that might be him not thinking that there's a chance he can complete that pass and he wants a better option, but in my tracking data, he wasn't quite at that top echelon of dangerous pass attempt that other players might be already. Next, we go to the shoot category, and I feel like people seem to forget that Marco Rossi had 39 goals in 56 games this year in the OHL. He has tons of skill and real good agility on his edges, so he can attack the front of the net with the puck, and with that skill, he can find spots where the goalie isn't and shovel pucks into the net very easily. If he can't find a route to do that, he can put the puck top shelf from very, very close to the goaltender and just make scoring goals look easy from time to time. 70% of his shot attempts came from high or medium danger areas, and a remarkable 32.5% came from high danger areas. And per 60 minutes on the ice, he had 12.21 high and medium danger shot attempts. While that trails names like Cole Perfetti, Seth Jarvis, and Brett Berard, it surpasses names like Alexis Lafreniere and Quinton Byfield in my tracking work thus far. So in the shoot category, I'm giving Marco Rossi a 1C. Some guys like Anton Lundell might be a bit more conservative with where they position themselves on the ice as a center, but Marco Rossi really seems to know how to cover a lot of the ice surface and get to those dangerous areas for more dangerous shot attempts. The only reason I'm not giving him anything better than a 1C is because it wasn't perfect, and I also feel like at his size, he might have a little bit of trouble getting away with the same things he got away with in the OHL. Really crashing the net and attacking the net while under a lot of control was something that was impressive at the OHL level for him, and I'm not saying that it's impossible for him to do it in the NHL, but I would not be surprised to see that this might be a little bit more difficult for him and he ends up being a bit more of a playmaker down the road. He's still got a great, quick shot. he knows how to use it, he doesn't make poor shooting decisions, but having even more of his shot attempts come from medium and high danger areas, and continuing to develop his skill and his skating to be that dangerous player right in front of the net could take him a very, very long way in the National Hockey League. So the way we wrap up these reports is we look at the best part of a player's game, the good part of a player's game, and the not so good part of a player's game. With Marco Rossi, the best part of his game, simply put, is when the puck is on his stick, he's ridiculous. He can move it up the ice with control of the puck, whether it's on his own stick or finding a teammate to pass it to. He can make cross-ice offensive plays look easy, or he can pass it to the slot with real purpose and it usually finds its target. And he can get to or find open space offensively extremely well. With his strength and determination on his feet, his great skill, his agility on his edges, he had every reason to be a player that was on pace to score 145 points in the OHL this season. The good part of Marco Rossi's game is his general two-way play away from the puck. He positions himself well, and he's extremely smart with choosing his spots to strike and try to create turnovers. If he needs to physically engage, he can, but he knows how to use his stick, his brain, his feet, and his body, all in conjunction with one another to create those turnovers as efficiently as he can, as well as maintain control of that puck as it goes up the ice. So while he can be a little bit passive from time to time away from the puck, and he does need to be a little bit more explosive to close out those defensive cycles more often, to me he's a good example of a true postmodern two-way center, especially away from the puck. The not so good part is, well, there isn't a whole lot. He can be caught flat-footed a little bit here and there, and that might go back to a bit of a lack of focus from time to time. He seemed a little bit passive when it came to defensive engagements along the boards, but that wasn't super common. I could make the argument that he needs to have more flash in his game and constantly show off the speed that he has, but I don't really think that that gets you very far in the game of hockey beyond what you really need to do to get the job done. And all of the downsides that I am highlighting with his game really only indicate that his excellent results so far could be even further improved. And I didn't find that these downsides really bled into his overall ability to play the game. I think Marco Rossi is going to be a great hockey player without a tremendous amount of weaknesses in his game. So overall, I'm giving Marco Rossi the first 1B I've ever handed out. The guy is just plain good at hockey. He can get pucks back in the defensive zone better than you would expect for someone his size. He moves pucks up the ice with a tremendous amount of control. He passes the puck a lot. He hits his target a lot. He scores a lot. He passes the puck to the slot. Not as often as some other guys, but he does it with purpose and completes a lot of those attempts. And he's a guy who just knows how to put the puck in the net, whether it's on his own stick or finding a teammate who can do it for him. And Marco Rossi, to me, is clearly not one of these young players that only gets by on the raw talent that they have. He has all the speed and skill from time to time that you love to see scrolling through your Twitter timeline, but he doesn't showcase it 24/7 because I don't think he really needs to. He's smart enough to know what needs to be done to get the job done. He's determined, he's resilient, he works hard when he's on the ice and supposedly is an extremely hard worker off the ice. He's resilient with the puck and really sneaky and intelligent away from it. He's not perfect, but if he's available anywhere outside of, I'd say, the top 4 of this year's draft, that's a player I'm running to the stage to go pick. So if he can get a quicker first couple of steps and really know how to put that game face on every single time he steps onto the ice, he could be a devastating two-way player with tremendous offensive upside in the National Hockey League. So that's it for this Scouching Report. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you can click all the buttons you see below me so that you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could subscribe on Patreon, where you get access to data sheets for drafted and undrafted prospects, as well as exclusive data visualizations and a Discord server, and plenty of other goodies. Or you can pick up some merchandise at the Scouchwear shop, where 50% of all profits go to the Women's Sports Foundation. All the links are in the description below. So that's it, and we'll see you in the next one.